On First News today, we're out in the field, and that's where we like to do our talks, myself and my guest today. And this guest has been on the road a lot. He'd rather be in this field or in the field just in front of us here that you're not looking at, but it's a cotton field. He likes to farm, but his farming takes him to Washington, D.C. to farm up some good things for farming. As a matter of fact, Kenny Evans, president of the Arizona Farm Bureau, sometimes I wonder if you took on a job that you really wish maybe you could back off a little bit.
Well, George, I'm doing what I'm doing because it needs to be done, and certainly it'd be a whole lot more fun to be out in the field, as you say, than it would be to be back in Washington trying to protect farmers and farmers' right to produce the food and fiber we need for this nation and for the world.
Kenny, you can't get jet lag because you hit so many different ports so often that there's no time for the jet lag to catch up. But you were sitting in Washington just this last week with Glickman and a bunch of people from the USDA and the Vice President of the United States,
as well as a number of people from EPA who were responsible for the earlier bungled effort to try to take organophosphates and carbamates away from agriculture.
Now, are we correct to say that these organophosphates and these carbamates that they're talking about taking away from farmers are indeed found in chemicals like Raid and Black Flag and things of that nature found in the garden store?
Absolutely, as well as many that are far less harmful than those. We're talking about things as simple as malathion that people use in their garden all the time. We're talking about chemicals that have been proven to be safe now for half a century. And we're talking about taking them away, not because they suddenly have been proven to be harmful to the environment or because suddenly we have new research data that shows that they're harmful to human beings. There's no such data out there. In fact, the data has shown just the opposite. We're talking about taking it away simply because a formula generated by a bureaucrat sitting behind a computer at a desk in Washington, D.C., thought it was a good idea to obtain his objective, which was to do away with 1/2 of the pesticide use in America. Nothing magic about it. He just wants to do away with 1/2 of them, period.
Now, singling out farmers, why not the general public for their garden stuff?
Well, because they realize that politically speaking, if they started to take those chemicals away from the average consumer, the average homeowner who needs those chemicals to keep their garden growing and their grass green, that they would suddenly face a groundswell of negative public relations, and so they've chosen to pick on a smaller crew, namely the 1.5% of us that try to produce the food and fiber for the rest of America.
Kenny, you're in and out of Washington. Where are we going to go from here? We've got to be vigilant about this.
Absolutely. One of the problems we face is that we're always crying wolf. We're always saying, well, if Washington does this to us, the price of food is going to go up. And I think the public has gotten callous to that call. But this is the first time in my lifetime that I can remember that an agency has really attempted to take away virtually all of the tools that allow us to do our job.
And this will ultimately affect the consumer because, as you mentioned to me earlier, that if you take it away from farmers, the people that produce this crop are going to produce it for the world and forget the United States.
Absolutely. And the other thing that will happen is if you those companies that manufacture these chemicals, the ones you featured on your show here, if you eliminate the massive uses, if you eliminate the large users, they're no longer going to produce for the home market as well.
Going back to Washington soon.
Going back in another 2 weeks. Hopefully the news will be better.
Okay. Kenny Evans, president of the Arizona Farm Bureau. Farmers working for all of us, and that's important to me and I hope to you. George Gatley, that is First News Today.